Rwanda has welcomed calls for a joint regional summit to address the escalating conflict in DRC. Now, this comes as the M23 rebel group, which the UN and several nations accuse Rwanda of backing, has seized control of Goma and vowed to march on the capital, Kinshasa. The latest escalation has intensified regional concerns, prompting emergency summits among African leaders. On Friday, the 16-nation Southern African Development Community, SADC, proposed a summit with the East African Community to deliberate on the security crisis in DRC. In response, Rwanda's foreign ministry expressed support for the initiative, stating that it has consistently advocated for a political solution to the ongoing conflict. And to unpack this, we're joined by Zama Ntshona, the national spokesperson of the African Transformation Movement. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Yes.
All right. What's your reaction to the crisis in the DRC and, of course, involvement of the South African National Defense Force?
Thank you so much. I think for a moment we need to backtrack. Yes, truly, when you're looking at what actually transpired when the South African Defense Force found itself ill-prepared for what it termed a peace mission in the middle of a war, that one is a matter of concern that must be looked into, but we need to backtrack a little. If you listen to former President of South Africa, President Mbeki, speaking about the matter, and actually going back to 1994 and before, but specifically 1994, when there was an opportunity to recognize the Tutsis as Congolese. And that missed opportunity has actually given us or yielded this particular confrontation. And it is very astonishing, if I may say, why is it that the South African government, after taking Palestine or Israel to the international court for what Israel is doing to Palestinian people, why would the South African government, in this case, even though history is revealing, especially from the statements of the former statesman, and he's not the only one, that the people who are Rwandan speaking but Congolese by demarcation actually must be given their rights to vote, they must be given their rights of recognition, they must be integrated into the Congolese nation, or should we say government. Why is it that similarly to what actually transpired in Palestine, Israel, that the South African government has not actually positioned itself in a manner that speaks for the minority? So now many questions are now arising on the actual reason why the South African government is actually in Congo. Why is the South African government? Well, it is ill-prepared, and also for a cause that is yet to be clarified. Why? And why the side that they have chosen?
Why you raise these questions as to why the South African government is in Congo, do you think, the South African Defense Force, for instance, has contributed to regional peace or stability in the DRC?
When the actual reasons for occupation are questionable, the outcomes are going to be questionable as well. Because if people are beginning now to ask questions, were you not the same people who were saying that the Palestinian people are suppressed in an apartheid-like government of Israel? Why would you say that we support the non-recognition of the Tutsis? So if your reason for occupation is questionable, how are you going to realize the ideals of peacemaking? Are you then saying in South Africa, these Rwandan-speaking Congolese must not be recognized, must not be given rights, and all the peace accords and treaties that have been signed must not be fulfilled? Is that what you are saying? Is that what you are condoning? Now, these are pivotal questions which we believe that the South African government needs to look into intricately and actually answer these questions, because right now, the South African government seems not consistent in its stand against the victimization of the minority groups.
Having said that, how do you think the South African National Defence Force can ensure a very smooth peacekeeping mission in the region?
Currently speaking, I do not see how we will get to that. Because if you are going to choose which side you belong to on the basis of who you are dealing with, you are not going to be able to be effective. You can't be effective. In fact, you are going to be an individual who is not trusted. So now it calls into question not just only the occupation of South Africa there, but the occupation of the UN there. Because seemingly the history that South Africa relies on and the UN relies on is the 1994 issue. Now, the issue of the 1994 conflict of Rwanda, which saw Tutsis moving towards the border, seems to be the issue here, but they're forgetting about the Berlin Conference. And the Berlin Conference, when it was demarcating, it went right in the middle of a place where the Tutsis were actually occupying, split it in half. The others belonged to the DRC, whilst the others belonged to Rwanda. So who are they by nationality? Are they Rwandans or are they Congolese? So it seems that we need to have a serious conversation about what is happening in that region. And we need to have a serious conversation about our advocacy for minority groups. We need to have a serious conversation around the issue of whose side we should be supporting.
Talking about sides to support, Rwanda has welcomed calls for a joint regional summit to address the escalating conflict in the DRC. How do you foresee this playing out?
It's going to be a tricky one. What makes it a tricky one is that you have undeniably people who are being displaced. And you would hear from many commentators on the matter, they are saying, the people, the Tutsis are saying very easy, if you want us gone out of Congo, we are taking our land with, because this is the land of our forefathers. The graves of our forefathers is here. Are you going then in that summit going to deal with the issue of the redrawing of the borders? Are you going to bring back the border so that it does not include the northeastern part of Congo in Congo, and it includes that part in Rwanda? These are the pivotal questions which need to be addressed. And also that summit needs to address why is it that the many peace agreements that were supposed to be implemented from the Congolese side were not actually implemented? Why is it that there is a need of a barrel of a gun to ask for recognition when the country could have just used the easiest way out? There were peace agreements, there were peace accords. Both sides had agreed to a ceasefire. Why is it that the Congolese government did not implement those? These are pivotal questions before we only look. So where I am sitting right now, the summit needs to be impartial, needs to be objective, needs to look at both sides. Yes, casualties have been suffered, or both sides. People have died, including South African troops. But we need to be objective here. If we say the Congolese government, if we say that the M23, the Tutsis, are actually wrong for wanting recognition, and we need to ask ourselves, are the forces within the Congolese space right for wanting them out of the space? These are pivotal questions. So the summit must actually go there. If the summit addresses those pivotal questions, then maybe we can get to a point where we could say there is an intervention that is going to have a meaningful and a lasting solution. But as we stand here and now, the biggest problem right now is that if you only use military means to actually deal with the problem, you are not going to be able to do it. We need to go back to the table, and we are hoping that when we go back to the table, the summit will then answer those pivotal questions. And I believe that if those pivotal questions are answered, we may be able to see lasting peace. If those agreements are actually implemented, we may see lasting peace.
Indeed.
But as things stand,
yeah, Mr. Ntshona, well, indeed, we hope answers are given to those pressing questions you raised. Thank you so much for your insight on the news. Zama Ntshona, National Spokesperson of the African Transformation Movement. Many thanks indeed.